At least 16 people were killed and more than 40 injured in the latest Russian attacks on Kyiv and the surrounding region. The Ukrainian Air Force says that Moscow launched dozens of ballistic and cruise missiles, as well as hundreds of drones at the Ukrainian capital and surrounding areas. Most of the projectiles were intercepted, but the fast-moving ballistic missiles continue to pose a challenge for Ukrainian air defenses. After the latest attacks, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky once again called on allies to help stock up Ukraine's supplies of Patriot interceptor missiles. DW's Max Zander reports now from one Kyiv neighborhood that has been living through the attacks.
Every morning, no matter how hard the night was, they will be here selling their products, right outside the Lukianivska metro station. Russia has targeted this area like no other in Kyiv. Tetiana is here twice a week.
It's very scary to come here now. It's dangerous. They're bombing all the time. You've just gone out, air raid alert. It hit, it flew off. You don't know if you make it there alive, or if you won't make it at all.
Most vendors, like Victoria, come from out of town. Some travel during the night to get here early, sometimes as attacks are underway.
Yes, today we drove under some explosions because we were driving right during an alert. We arrived and saw explosions along the way where something was burning. We were driving right at the moment when everything was on fire.
Nighttime is especially worrisome to people here. The lack of air defenses and increased Russian attacks with ballistic missiles have left them with few options than to hide.
The perceived threat here in Kyiv at the moment is incredibly high, with Ukraine having effectively run out of interceptor missiles, and especially this neighborhood that has been attacked by Russian missile strikes again and again and again. Many people here prefer to spend the entire night underground in the metro and not take their chances.
By the time the last train passes through the station, some have already settled in for the night, even without an air raid siren. Like Larisa and her daughter Nastya. Nastya just participated in a dance competition. Now they are getting ready for bed. Since an attack damaged their home a month ago, they have spent many nights down here.
Well, it causes a great deal of fear and a racing heart.
It's a huge amount of stress, because you might not sleep until 5 in the morning, waiting for some ballistic missiles. Maybe we won't hear the alert, and it'll just go bang, and then there will be panic, stress, insomnia.
12-year-old Nastya was messaging her older sister when their house was hit. Windows were blown out. Parts of the ceiling came down. Her mother's car caught fire and was destroyed. The only thing that survived was a suitcase with her dance costumes. With everything going on down here, they struggle to rest. Larisa worries about her child growing up in these conditions.
They're all mature beyond their years. They understand everything. Very small children, they understand what's flying, whether it's a drone or ballistic missiles, whether some planes have taken off. It would be better if they didn't notice.
At 5:30 a.m., the trains will start running again, and life returns to something slightly more normal.
And let's get more on this. We're joined now by Domitilla Sagramoso, a senior lecturer in security and development at King's College London. Welcome to the program, and thank you so much for joining us. How would you assess the scale of last night's attacks?
Last night, I mean, it seems was again a very, very intense and very brutal attack. One of the strongest of the last days. But I mean, it seems to be a repetition of these very, very intense attacks. And the difference to what was happening earlier is, as was pointed out, is that the Ukrainians do not have the effective Patriot interceptor missiles that can neutralize the incoming ballistic missiles. These are the PAC-3 from interceptors that are part of the Patriot system. And that has become really problematic.
And it's not just those ballistic missiles. We understand that also there's reports that last night that barrage in particular also included cruise missiles and jet-powered drones, further straining Ukraine's air defenses. Russia in general seems to be ratcheting up these attacks again. What do we know about their stockpiles of such weaponry and how long they can sustain attacks at this rate and this scale in the air?
Let me just go back for a moment and explain that, yes, Russia is also launching drones, it's launching cruise missiles, but these are easier to intercept. So if you look at the interception rate of Ukraine against cruise missiles and drones, it is much higher. So the real problem that we are facing now in this case is really ballistic missiles, and that is why I put an emphasis on that, not because the other incoming missiles were not taking place, were not arriving. But let me go on back to answering your question regarding Russian stockpiles. It seems that Russia has been able roughly to fire around 100 plus missiles, ballistic missiles a month, sometimes a bit more. So altogether, if we include also cruise missiles and drones, sometimes we are talking about over 350 missiles being shot. So this is a very high number. And it seems that the Russians are able to maintain that level for the moment. And as I said, the problem is intensified by the fact that the Ukrainians do not have anymore the systems that they used to have, above all the interceptors of the missile systems, to intercept these missiles. So this is a real problem now, facing now the winter. This is very serious.
Do you think that problem can be solved before the winter, especially taking it, into account the fact that international stockpiles are now low, especially amid the Iran war?
Yes, as you rightly pointed out, it seems from the figures that I found that that the Americans, had over 2,300 interceptors for the Patriot system, and now they have around 850. I don't know if that figures are accurate, but it really shows how much was lost with the war in Iran by the Americans. Also, what we have is that the Europeans have also given quite a lot of interceptors already to Ukraine, and they have to be a bit careful that they don't run too low on their own defensive capabilities, especially those countries that are closer to Ukraine. We're talking about Poland, for example, which has given interceptors to Ukraine, but is also very careful to make sure that it has its own protection. Germany has also been very supportive, has provided over 2 to 3 Patriot systems and interceptors, but it also needs to make sure that it is not running too low and it's keeping up with the standards that are required for the defense of NATO territory. So pressure is growing on countries that maybe have not been able to provide so much to Ukraine, such as maybe Greece or Spain. And also efforts to find out globally if other countries would be able to provide. There was talk about South Korea. South Korea now is very worried because the North Koreans are now involved also in the war in Ukraine, and so they are getting more sort of military capable. And this, let me add that also we have the North Korean ballistic missiles, the KN-23 and KN-24, that are coming together with the Zircon Russian ballistic missiles, the Iskander ballistic missiles, the S-400s, and other cruise missiles such as Caliber cruise missiles. So it is very problematic. The Ukrainians are trying to develop their own system called Freya, together with a consortia of European countries. But it might take time. It needs really a lot more investment. It needs proper engineering work, testing. So I don't think this will be ready before next spring or next summer. So I think this winter is going to be very tough for the Ukrainians, unfortunately. And the systems that the Europeans have, such as the IRIS, which is a German system, or the SAM, the Italian one, they are very good against cruise missiles, but not necessarily haven't proven effective against ballistic missiles so far. So Germany is also working hard to see if this capability can be developed. But, it takes time to develop this system, to test them and to make them effective and produced at scale.
Domitilla Sagramoso from King's College London, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Our correspondent Max Zander in Kyiv, and Max joins us now. Welcome. Russia's attacks on the Ukrainian capital do appear to be increasing.
Yeah, that's correct, Phil. I mean, actually, the last couple of nights prior to this last attack felt suspiciously calm here, and people here in Kyiv are already talking about anticipating the next large-scale attack. This summer has been incredibly difficult for people here in Kyiv. We heard it already last night. At least 16 people died, 40 people were injured. Houses, civilian infrastructure was destroyed. Last month in July, 54 people in Kyiv alone were killed, and this also was the deadliest month for civilians in Ukraine since the beginning of the full-scale invasion. So Kyiv, but the entire country, is actually going through an exceptional time right now, and last night was really no different. When the air raid siren kicked off at around midnight, there were just a couple minutes to the first impacts of ballistic missiles coming in, and you can imagine incredibly loud. The entire city of 3 million would have heard that, so it was no surprise that roughly, from what we've heard, 38,000 people were seeking shelter in the city's metro subway station, something that is actually quite unusual if there is adequate protection from ballistic missiles and from aerial attacks in general.
Russia's also been attacking Ukrainian food warehouses, and Red Cross facilities around Kyiv have been damaged, which these do not sound anything like military targets.
No, that's correct. So the Red Cross facilities haven't been attacked for the first time this summer. There's not a whole lot of information out there on what exactly was affected, what was damaged there. Also very interesting is that food warehouses were attacked. In this case, this happened in the neighborhood of Boryspil in eastern Kyiv. A warehouse of the supermarket chain Fora was attacked. And what is interesting there is that this warehouse was only put into service last week because other warehouses of that same chain had come under Russian attack. So there seems to be a pattern there. And this summer, if you go to supermarkets, any chain, you might find yourself in front of shelves that are empty and in front of refrigerators that are empty with a little note saying that excuses due to Russian attacks on our logistics, we're not able to provide these kind of products. That being said, Russia claims that they targeted military infrastructure, drone production facilities, military logistics facilities, but we can establish that civilian infrastructure indeed was hit last night.
Ukraine has practically no interceptor missiles left, but what's being said about Russia's stockpiles and their ability to sustain this rate of attacks?
Right, that's correct. So Ukraine currently is not able to fend off ballistic missiles. And it's not looking like there's going to be a change to that anytime soon. They need the Patriot system, which has been provided by the U.S. The U.S. partners have been running low on their stocks due to the war in Iran. European partners also are hesitant to provide Ukraine with more of that to come. So at the moment, it seems there's no change to that. At the same time, Russia has ramped up their production of ballistic missiles. They're attacking with roughly 100 ballistic, and this is just ballistic missiles. And in addition to that, you also have cruise missiles, but with roughly 100 ballistic missiles every month. And it looks like at the moment that they are able to sustain this rate. And in addition to that, there are also reports of North Korean units being deployed to assist Russia with their own ballistic missiles and soldiers.
All right, Max, so given Moscow's increased attacks and Ukraine's shortage of missile defences, clearly no incentive for Moscow to negotiate.
I mean, yes, that's certainly the point that President Zelensky is making, is that if you can attack the country and it cannot protect its cities, it cannot do anything effectively against your incoming ballistic missiles, why would you stop? Why would you not strengthen your position there? Russia has maximalist goals it's holding on to, such as conquering the entire Donbas, four additional regions plus Crimea in eastern Ukraine. So far, they haven't been able to do any of that. They haven't been able to make good on any of their goals they set out to accomplish more than 4 years ago. So if Russia can produce ballistic missiles faster than partners can give to Ukraine, as it seems to be at the moment, then this is going to just strengthen Russia's position in the eyes of Russia, but also in the eyes of Ukraine.
Thanks, Max. Max Zander in Kyiv.